climate change. But forget all that, because one of the more pressing issues many countries are noted to facing is, of course, Generation Z.
I wonder what the problem is now. Is it because they don't want to work themselves to death? Is it because they don't want to be annoying, like suck up to all the bosses? Is it because they aren't working like you expect them to do, but not giving them the same type of monetary gain for it, or way up in a company?
And Japan is no different. So
Good.
Exactly what problems are the land of the rising sun facing with their Gen Z?
20歳を過ぎてお酒を飲めなくても人生をうまくやっていく方法ということでね。
Well, that's what we're going to explore in this video. In many aspects, the Gen Z of Japan share the same kind of characteristics as Gen Z in most parts of the world. They're digital natives, growing up in a world where the internet already existed and during the rise of social media. Part of what this means is younger Japanese people are used to obtaining raw information about what is happening in Japan and around the world.
That's a problem because, yeah, he's probably going to talk about it, but the previous generations didn't have the amount of, let's call it freedom, to find certain information from the West. So they could keep their working classes kind of ignorant in that sense. And like, oh, this is the norm all around the world. And now they see that they're working themselves to death. Them in South Korea are working themselves to death and not getting the same benefits as a lot of Western countries.
Previous generations were, and many still, are used to gaining their information from traditional forms of media like newspapers and TV. In fact, a huge reason why traditional media is still thriving in Japan is simply because there aren't as many young people, with the average age being around 49.
Jesus
making Japan's
Christ.
population the oldest in the world.
Whoa, there's going to be a huge strain on the younger generation for them to pay their pensions.
However, as many might have already known, traditional media is often quite selective on what is reported and tends to spin stories in a particular way depending on their audience base.
This is a pen. This is a pen.
What this has resulted in is a communication divide between Gen Z and previous generations on a range of topics. However, we are seeing a rise in more older Japanese internet users within more recent years. But let's get to the main issue, which is typically brought up when talking about Gen Z.
There'll probably be mostly the work ethic, I think.
Work. Japanese society is heavily centered around working, and nothing beats social credit like being a full-time employee, aka say shine, in a top company. Japanese company practices also typically require a level of commitment that goes beyond the job description, and being active in trying to get your boss to like you so you can climb the corporate ladder.
But when you can't climb the corporate ladder, there is no point to doing this. This is what you guys are forgetting. You are holding on to the positions of power with your iron grip and your talents. And nobody wants to work to get up there anymore then. Why do I want to suck up to you, boss? I'm here to do a job. If you want me to rise in the company, at least make a path for us to do so.
Which is also assumed to be something you want to do. Something else I don't usually hear about within other videos that discuss Japanese working culture is the view older generations take that company members are like family, where you'd be given a role like being the big brother or sister. This is actually used as a method to stop new grads from suddenly quitting by letting their senior, aka senpai, be someone they can go easily talk to. But we'll talk about the quitting issue in just a bit. Overall, the expectation for Japanese companies is that you'll stay within that company for life, being moved into different departments at the company's convenience. However, many of the Gen Z in Japan are seeing work differently, seeing it as just a place to work.
Make money. Because you just want to survive. Like they don't have the same family ties, and there's no way of going up as easily anymore.
No, shocking. This has led to complaints from superiors that they aren't able to communicate and bond anymore with those below them, as many younger workers aren't as keen on chit-chatting and also refuse to go out drinking with their boss after work.
Why do you want to drink with your boss after work every single day? You're gonna fuck your body up. It's so fucking sad, that salaryman lifestyle. If you don't know what a salaryman lifestyle is, it's basically you go to work, you work overtime, then you go out mandatory. It's not really mandatory, but it's an non-mandatory, mandatory thing that you'll have to do to go and drink with your boss afterwards. and then you go to work early in the morning again. It's just your life. No wonder why there's so few kids and so few happy families.
Preferring to prioritize their private time. Not only that, a big complaint about Gen Z when it comes to communication within the workplace is that they're too sensitive. Reasoning for this is the notable increase in the types of haras there are. Hara meaning harassment. The most common type of hara you are bound to hear about is sekuhara, which stands for sexual harassment. But now, different haras are constantly popping up, and many attribute this to Gen Z. For example, yumehara.
Oh no, somebody is telling you that you're doing something wrong. They are sensitive! Aren't you also kind of sensitive whining about the haras being created? Because they're like, hey, yo, this is something I'm not comfortable with. And you're like, you're sensitive because I can't do it. I was like, huh?
Yume meaning dream. Now, some of you might be scratching your heads wondering, what kind of harassment exactly is that? Essentially, this is when your boss or senpai asks you about your dreams, as in what you aspire to do. Some preferring to just not talk about their dreams or just not having any dreams in the first place, feeling that they were just put on the spot. What also counts as yumehara is when those superiors talk about their dreams, basically because the younger workers don't really care. There is also another trait about Gen Z that is something we often hear about in the news. They easily quit. Yeah.
Well, they easily quit because they don't want to take the bullshit anymore.
As I mentioned before, quitting is probably the biggest issue many companies are facing with Gen Z. Forget about staying for life, some quit within a year. What's also interesting is that some will choose not to say they quit themselves,
silent
but will use
quitting.
an agency that is specialized in quitting on behalf of their clients. Yes, you heard that right. Some reasons for this though are actually pretty understandable. You see, some bosses here simply don't say okay when you say you're going to quit. This is particularly in the case of clients who work at a black company. Some bosses will actually try to stop their employees from quitting, becoming really aggressive or even threatening them with some financial liability.
I mean, isn't that the time you just flip them off and tell them to fuck off and go to hell? Get out of here, I'm quitting. Oh, you can't fucking quit. You can't quit my company. You can't do it. Fuck you. It's my conversation.
Interestingly though, it actually isn't new grads that make up the bulk of users for this service. One agency even revealed it was less than 20%, but that the number was rising. Now, reasons why new grads are quitting vary from things like finding out the company wasn't like what they were told during the interview to
and that's false information and lying. So they're like, oh, they're quitting, they're sensitive, but we lied to get them in here.
Simply not getting along with their coworkers. But there is another trend: fear for the future. To be honest, this isn't just Gen Z, but many of the younger generation are concerned that they aren't obtaining the skills they need for future progress, or see their superiors are not getting pay increases, but are just doing double the amount of work.
That's what I said in the first place. A lot of these things in the past 20 or 30 years, it feels like you can't really progress in a company. You have to make your own company.
Japanese companies have put in effort to improve their work environments, from trying to decrease overtime to changing how superiors talk with subordinates. But even with great working conditions, if younger workers don't feel challenged, they'll look elsewhere. This is certainly a big change from older generations, but essentially it boils down to Gen Z wanting a good work environment where they also feel that their future is secure. The power balance has started to shift in Japan. It's no longer about what the employees can do for the company, but what the company can do for the employee.
Which
Japanese
is good,
companies
honestly.
that can't comply with those needs are going to continue to lose early stage workers. Okay.
And they're going to be losing all their best workers that would have in time become the CEOs.
Okay guys, that's going to do it for this video. As someone who has worked in a number of Japanese companies with a lot of the younger generation, with a lot of Gen Z, honestly speaking, I can see their drive, I can see their passion, I can see that they actually do want to work, but they also want to improve their skills. They are scared. Yes. They are worried about what is going to happen to them. Economically speaking, Japan is not in the best of places.
No, they're not.
They know it. A lot of the Gen Z know it, and they are expecting things from companies now. They want to see that those companies are going to provide for their futures.